what about the Bible and artificial intelligence? That's a contemporary question if I ever heard one. But the Bible doesn't specifically speak about artificial intelligence because it is a new phenomenon. However, I do believe the Bible offers us principles by which we can understand how to deal with its emerging phenomena. In fact, let me suggest this. The Bible's principles are actually so, I think, profound and deep that this wisdom that comes from thousands and thousands of years before the first computer was even dreamed of suggests that maybe there's something to the divine origin of this book that has this kind of uncanny wisdom into the issues and challenges we're facing today. So the first thing we have to do is understand what we're talking about when we speak about artificial intelligence. We use this phrase a lot. We just bounce it around like it means something, like, the machines in the Terminator movies or the Matrix or whatever it is. These machines that have self-awareness and self-volition and their own will and their creative powers and all this. That's what's called artificial general intelligence or artificial generative intelligence. And the reality is, based on our current technology, we're not there yet. And we may never actually get there. We might have things that look like it, like a simulacrum of intelligence, but it's not actually real intelligence. What we have now is large language models. And that's a little different. That's algorithms that basically are fed data from certain sets of information, and they spit out things based on what that data tells them they should spit out and how human interaction teaches it what's right and what's wrong. But it's not discovering these things on its own necessarily. So we're not talking about artificial general intelligence. So I don't think we need to worry. What I am worried about is that we will cede our humanity to the algorithms and not even realize we did it. Not because they're trying to usurp our humanity, but because we cede it to it. Now, I want to say this up front as well. I think artificial intelligence can be a wonderful tool, a wonderful tool to help humanity in terms of diagnosing diseases, figuring out certain patterns, helping us with traffic and lessening traffic accidents. There's a million things that it can be really helpful at. However, we have to be careful that we don't cede our humanity to the algorithms in terms of our decision making, and our creativity, and ultimately what it means to be made in God's image. Now, we've been using large language models, and we've been using various algorithms that are like artificial intelligence for years, and we don't even necessarily realize we've been doing it. Every time you use social media, you're using an artificial intelligence of some variety. Every time you watch Netflix or you watch YouTube, you're engaging in an artificial intelligence endeavor, as it were. For example, you ever notice that Netflix seems to know exactly what you want to watch next? It's like, you like this kind of movie. What about this kind of movie? Or YouTube will have the list of suggested videos down the side. The reason YouTube does that is because an algorithm has predicted your patterns, the kinds of things you watch, not down just through the content, but the kind of sweaters you like to look at when you're looking at certain videos, the color schemes of those videos. The algorithms pick all of that up and they begin to predict the kinds of videos visually and content-wise that you like to watch. And when you click, yes, Netflix, I would like to watch that. Or you click, by the way, YouTube, you're absolutely right. I would love to watch that next video. What you're doing is teaching the algorithm how to predict you better and better and better. And here's the problem. The issue is not, are the algorithms becoming more human-like? The issue is when we cede our decision-making and we just do what it tells us to do, the issue is not, will machines become more human? The issues are, will humans become more like machines? We just click the button because it told us to, like a robot. I think that's a very serious issue we have to understand. When we engage in the creative endeavor using artificial intelligence, it can be wonderful, but we have to be careful because, for example, I did something very meta. I asked artificial intelligence to write me 5 essays in different styles about the danger of using artificial intelligence to write essays. And what it ended up doing was it created these essays that were pretty good, in their terms of their content, but they were sort of dead and lifeless. Because what AI does is it goes out into the internet, it scrapes what people have been doing, cobbles it together to respond to the prompt that I gave it. The problem is this, that if we keep using artificial intelligence over and over again, what it will scrape from out there will be itself. It won't be scraping from human endeavor, it'll be scraping from artificial intelligence itself. And it becomes lifeless and robotic. And so we cede our creativity to the machines as well. And finally, I think that there is something about a biblical principle that's important for us to understand. I got interested in this topic some time ago because a man named Jason Allen won an art contest using an image generating software called Midjourney. And it was a digital art contest. And digital art usually is where you take the pen and you write on your iPad, or you use some kind of digital art medium to take your pen in your hand and create some art. Well, he didn't do that. He just typed a bunch of prompts into Midjourney, and it spit out a beautiful image after he massaged it a little bit with the other prompts. He never used his hands to create this art. Well, he won first prize. And a lot of artists said that's cheating. And he said, no, it's not. And they said, yes, it is. And eventually the judges sided with him.
Gosh.
And what's interesting is when he was defending his position, he said, this is not going to stop. It's over. AI won, humans lost. What a weird thing to boast about. I remember thinking that. You're boasting about this. Did you forget that you're not an AI? That you're actually human, Mr. Allen? And so my question then became, why the boast? And I think this is it. And this is where the biblical principle comes into play. The original sin of Adam and Eve was that they were made for communion with God, and what they wanted was to be God. They wanted to be the God of God.
Yeah.
Now, we're in a digital Garden of Eden right now, where we have the ability to make something that's not only like us, but greater than us. God didn't even create something greater than himself or equal to himself. And we're saying we can outdo God in the God business.
Yeah.
We can create a God who's better than us. And so why do we brag when AI beats us? Because we created that AI, and that is the exact same thing as eating of that fruit, of knowing the knowledge of good and evil. Now we're knowing the knowledge of what it means to create something. It's not really the same thing God did, but we think it is. And so the Bible warns against this sin.
Yeah.
It warns against this and tells us to rely again on the truth, to believe in the idea that things can be known, not just deep fakes, but things can really be known, really truly be known. And that the truth is that we are not the gods of our own being, nor are we machines like AI. In Psalm 8, we are told, what is man, O God, that you are mindful of him, or the Son of Man, that you care for him? You made him lower than the heavenly beings, but you crowned him with honor and glory. We're not God, and we're not machines. We're something wonderfully made right in the middle.